recorded. If there are any other persons present recording the meeting, please notify the chair at this time. Very much. Okay, call the roll. David Singer. Here. Hawkins is here. Erwina Gardner, she'll be back in a moment. Chief Strahan. Liz Gilman.
Here.
Carol Collins.
Here.
Thank you. David Mascaratello. Steve Draculich.
Here.
Gene Wall.
Here.
Amy McMahon.
Here.
Yeah, Jen Strumson.
Here.
Thank you. Non-voting members, Laura Phelps.
Here.
Marla Warner. George Vanderlinder. Chief Haig. Peter McIver. I saw Pete here.
Arlo was going to try to get here, but I can't remember what happened, or something potentially might happen. So we may see him.
Okay. Greg Diefendorf. I see Don Moran's on. Don, are you recording the meeting?
Yes, I am. I just am running late. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the meeting minutes for January 27th. They were mailed out, I believe, by Peter a few days ago.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second. Carol.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing, seeing none. All those in favor say aye. David Singer.
Aye.
Well, you have to take roll call.
Aye. David?
Yes.
Butch is yes. Mayor?
Yes.
Chief Strand?
Yes.
You, Liz Gilman?
Yes.
Carol Collins?
Yes.
Steve Draculich?
Yes.
Gene Wall?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
And Jen?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Passed unanimously. All right, the next item on the agenda is the budget updates and expenditures to date by Neil Joyce. I think today will just be mostly updates from everybody. Nothing much new has happened. So,
Butch, last we spoke, or last budget update we provided, showed expenditures at 2.5 million. We've spent about $100,000, mostly on progress payments to both Pacheco Ross and to CMS over the last month. We did have about $10,000 in bills for miscellaneous work associated with the temporary fire station and the offices at Prospect Street. So our total billings are just shy of 2.7 million to date, and we'll have a full update for the committee towards the end of the month, inclusive of any other bills that are processed between now and then.
okay. Anyone have any questions of Neil on the budget and the updates? Okay, very much. Okay, project cost updates. Pacheco Ross, anything new there, Katrina?
I'll offer that we did get confirmation from the estimator with the changes that were made most recently, meaning the reduction in the square footage at the bays and putting the epoxy floor back in and putting the museum back on, that we are on target with the $12 million dollar budget that was discussed.
Perfect. Any questions for Katrina on the?
Which I did receive that from Katrina Tuesday, I think, of this week, Monday or Tuesday of this week, and I will forward that to you so it can be distributed to the committee at your discretion.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions for Katrina on that item? Okay. So design work update, Katrina, anything along that line?
Just a couple of items that we are in the process of doing. Obviously, for those of you who've been on the library project, you know that we're getting our drawings put together, putting specifications together. We still have a few meetings that we need to coordinate with the chief. And I know you're on here somewhere. Okay, I see you. There is an MEP programming meeting that we need to go through. We know we've got the general systems laid out, but this is going to be a more in-depth meeting with you and your crew, whoever you think is appropriate to be there. I would suggest, either George Vandelinder or Marlo, whoever is appropriate at that point to be in the discussion. And Butch, you are also welcome. Neil requested to be in on this call. Well, it'll be a visit. So I want to get out there in the next 2 to 3 weeks to have this discussion. And it's going to take several hours. So ahead of that, I'll get the kind of a checklist and bullet list of items that we'll talk about to the chief. And then we'll go through those very specific to the project. That's one meeting. The other meeting that I'm going to be setting up in the next few weeks is talking with the building department, getting Mark Snow the drawings that we've got at this point, and making sure that if there are any code related issues that he sees, that we're addressing it before we're too far down the line. Those were the two design related items that I wanted to bring up. Oh, I'm sorry. There was one more on interiors. I know we're at the point where we've started to work with our interior designers in terms of colors and materials, whether it's wood or tile and the different varieties of those. We're not at the point where we can share that with the entire group. I know they did send us a general picture, and I suppose Adam could bring it up, but or we can send it to you, Butch, later after the meeting, and then you can send that around. The idea of it is that we're starting to look at those materials. We wanted to share with the committee projects that have been completed with similar types of finishes so that you could see examples. Not that we're using every single thing that you see in there, because I know some of you will say, I really don't like that kind of material or that kind of approach, and that's fine. In a few weeks, and I'm thinking that it's more like the second meeting from now, we'll have more of a presentation where everyone can get an idea of these are the exact things, and we'll ask for some input at that time.
Any questions? Sure, go ahead, Carol.
So one question I have, Katrina, is I met with Eversource about the library project, and are you in CDs now? And
we're just getting into them.
okay, so before you start CDs, we're eligible for a much higher incentive if we talk to them while we're in DDs. So I'd like to follow up with you on that. And also with the library project, I was included in all the meetings with the MEP, so I would like to be.
Oh, sure. Okay.
So it's going to be hours long. It's going to be hours of fun. I know. So.
Okay. And at Neil's request, I'm going to try to schedule that on a Monday or a Friday, because that's when he is more available. And I know I can juggle things around. I don't know if that works for you, but we'll come together on some potential dates very shortly.
That sounds great. And is it okay if I follow up with you then, or I'll go through Neil to just connect for Eversource? For the incentives?
I think it would be good through us, because we'll have our mechanical, electrical folks in that meeting as well.
Okay. Great.
I think that would be better through us.
Thank you.
Just keep me CC'd, please.
You got it.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
No, that's a good point, Carol. Thank you.
Okay, anything else for Katrina? Yes, Mayor.
I know that Katrina started by saying that she received feedback back from the estimators, et cetera, and that we are on target with the quote unquote 12 million, that it's 12 million and change. And I want to know which 12 million. Because I have a couple of $12 million figures here. The first one was the estimated cost on their revised one, which was at 12,009,358. That was without alternates. We've added alternates in. And I'm wondering if there is an actual bottom line figure that you are aware of right now. That isn't just a flat 12 million.
Right. So what I mentioned, the feedback from the estimator, taking into account that we had changed the bay area
Yeah.
and put the epoxy floor and the museum back in. They wrote that down, and it came to, and this will be shared, just under 12 million. You know, within tens of thousands of dollars. It's not something where, you know,
Okay.
I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. I just, I'm assuming then that they were using the figures from the January 13 estimate for the epoxy floor in the museum. They didn't change those.
The only thing that changed with the epoxy floor was because we changed the footprint of the bays.
Oh, right.
It was that many
that's
square
less
foot
than-
less.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. All right. All right. That's good to know. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Katrina will send that to me and I'll send it out to everybody. So
Okay.
you'll have the actual copy. Any other questions for Katrina? Don't see or hear any. Okay.
I did have one thing, and I don't know if someone else was going to bring it up, about the property consolidation as part of the purchase of the land. I don't know if that's something that has taken place yet, but certainly from an approvals point of view, whether we need variances along parts of the property or not, we need to make sure that the property is one piece of property before we go to that step. So I'm just curious as to where that stands.
Sure. What Katrina's talking about, the property is divided into more than one lot. So there are lot lines. And so what needs to happen is it needs to be resurveyed and deeded as one parcel, because that will, maybe you can explain it better than I can, Katrina, that will create a situation for the construction that they're not crossing a property line in their building. Maybe you can.
Correct. I'll try to add to that, Butch, just to explain from a building code standpoint. When you have property lines, there are requirements for fire rated separations when you've got a property line, so that anything that's built on the next property over, there's protection in terms of hazard and risk. So putting a building across property lines is a no-no. In a general terms, I'm trying to keep it high level here. So it is something, again, with the approvals process, looking at variances, that it's considered one piece of property instead of multiple pieces. And the building currently crosses some of those property lines.
Well, you ask a very good question, and it'll definitely require some further research, which I will have to run by Greg, our lawyer. David, you may have some recall of it. As for lot lines, are you saying the actual, so 30, whatever it was, 35, 39 Main Street is more than one on paper right now, is more than one lot? Are you talking about the property lines that on either side? So there's the former Cumbies, I don't know what they call it now, and maybe they call it the Cumberland Farms, but and the the pizza place and the Coombs Avenue side.
Okay, I'm talking particularly about the property lines that were at the back of the Coombs Street properties that the city acquired, between that and the Main Street property.
Okay.
essentially the process would involve, and again, I'm not a lawyer, but the process involves abandoning those interior lot lines so that it becomes all one piece of property.
I might be wrong, but I'm going on planning board memory. I think we can, I mean, you might be right. It would be helpful to have Eric here and he's not here. So I'll ask him, but it sounds like a planning board would give an A&R for those, which is a simple administrative approval process. But I don't know that for a fact because they are on a different street. So, and they have to, in order for they have an A&R, they have to meet certain frontages and so forth. So I'll double check with him. David?
Yeah, David, it has to be redeeded, doesn't it, David, to a single lot? No?
Yeah.
No, the historical description, I think, is what is being talked about, is probably a series of lots unsurveyed.
Yeah.
Now, it was my impression that we had a survey done as part of the purchase. Is that fair to say?
That was what I remember as well.
So that survey is what is called a perimeter survey. So it does not need to go to the planning board. It's just
Okay.
that we're now identifying the lot as the entirety within that survey. And that will be the legal description of the property going forward.
But I will definitely check with Greg on it just to be sure.
The other thing is, and Jim, Lynn, and I share other hats, which is we're on the zoning board. The district in which the property lies is central commercial, I believe.
Yeah.
That means there are no setbacks or minimums.
Yeah.
So, Katrina, there might be fire-related permits that are needed because it's a fire station, but in terms of standard zoning, there are no setback. So I mean, you can that should not be explored by me. That Greg should do that. But I think I think you'll find that those two things, the description and the setbacks, probably will have minimal issues. But you can get now. I understand from Neil there might be a height issue, and that would be a special permit before the zoning board.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Yeah. So Katrina, you're good?
I believe so. The mayor is going to find out the information that I think we need that we can move forward with.
Sure. Anybody else, any questions to Katrina and what she updated us on? Okay. Going forward, what's kind of a time schedule of updates for design stuff do you see unfolding?
Really, I think the next meeting, if it's 2 weeks from today on the 10th, it's going to be more of we're just progressing along with the systems that we've got. And if we have held the meeting with the chief, we could give an update on that. But there's a lot of process to move forward with. And the interiors, like I was mentioning before, I think 4 weeks from now, that's something that then could be brought to the committee and have a discussion about.
Sure. So I would just ask you to give me a heads up for the agenda. If you're looking for, some specific discussion and content on a specific item, so I can make them a line item in the agenda.
Sure.
Thanks. Okay. Right. The next item on.
Well,
Yeah, do you have a question?
I've
Yeah,
got
go
one
ahead.
more question. Sorry. One more question for Katrina there. With regard to the materials piece, I know we had talked before about actually having an in-person meeting for that so that we can actually see them. Because I don't want to, I'm a see, feel, touch person.
Understood. And part of the
We're spending big money on it.
yes, part of the reason I'm saying it's more likely that 4 weeks will be more easily accommodated is because we have to order those materials.
Yeah. So you would have samples available to us at that meeting.
That's the idea. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. All right, the next item on the list is the Prequalification Subcommittee report. Maybe Neil.
Yeah, so I think we spoke at the last meeting that we were, in fact, a little bit light in some of the trade categories. We have since re-advertised and are re-soliciting, I believe, 7 trade categories of work. And as of this morning, unfortunately, we have only a moderate amount of new interest in the RFQ. So we will continue to drum up interest, make some phone calls, try to bring in some additional companies to round out our trades. In terms of the proposals that the city has received from the first solicitation, I had correspondence with the committee that is reviewing those proposals earlier this week, and I think everybody is moving forward with the goal of coming back to the committee perhaps as early as the first meeting in March, and asking the committee for their acceptance of our recommendations relative to pre-qualification. So I see that playing out. Again, first or second meeting in March, we should bring that to a closure.
Okay. Any questions for Neil on that item? Yeah, go ahead, Carol.
I'm sorry, I may have missed it, but wasn't there some huge response before? Or
Carol, we got from memory, I think there were 68 responses.
I remembered. Yep.
Yep. And when all of those responses were broken down by trade, right, according to the statutory requirements, there must be a minimum of 3 contractors in each trade category. Several firms on several categories of work, we received only 3. On one category of work, we received 1. So what we did was we re-advertised for any category of work that we had less than 5 contractors respond in the initial request. So all we're trying to do at this point is to build and establish the most aggressive bidding pool that we can of pre-qualified contractors to encourage competition and sharp pencils on bid day.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's okay. I appreciate the explanation.
Sure.
Good luck.
Anyone else with a question for Neil on that subject? Okay, don't see any. All right, temporary fire station updates. Anything going on, Chief?
No, just some outstanding issues we're still working on. Working closely with Mahaffey and New England Builders to try to correct. So nothing else to report.
Okay. Any questions for the chief? Okay. All right. We've reached happy time. Is there a motion for adjournment? The next meeting will be on the 24th.
So moved.
Second?
All right, I'll second.
Okay, that's what we like to see.
Thanks.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. David Singer?
Aye.
Butch, yes. Mayor?
Yes.
Chief?
Yes.
Liz?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thanks, everyone.
Good week.